Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Allard, back again with another installment of our Future of Real Estate series. This is the series where we talk about trends affecting the real estate industry, and we get to spotlight amazing leaders like the woman I have with me today. I have Jessica Averbuch, who is the CEO and owner of Zeitlin Sotheby's International Realty in Nashville. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for the opportunity.
And so let's start back at the beginning. Everyone has their origin story. How did you get into this industry and what keeps you here?
Well, I certainly didn't plan to. So I was on a very academic path, studying something very random. I always had an intense interest in behavior and psychology and thought I wanted to be a professor. I actually studied primates and primate behavior. So I was in Austin, Texas, going to University of Texas for graduate school in the late 90s. And while I still have that passion for primates, it was becoming very apparent to me that it wasn't a very realistic profession. And it also was the high tech boom of the late 90s in Austin. So there was a lot going on. It was a really exciting time in business. There were a lot of opportunities for young people. And watching my husband work in that world, I just had a curiosity of just being ready to do something different than what I thought I was going to do when I grew up. And that led to us having some good success in buying a home at a really young age. And when we went through that transaction, it just really piqued our interest. There were things about it we would have done differently had we been the realtor or the loan officer. And I think certainly being young was a big factor in that. We just got really interested in real estate. Now, full disclosure, our company is a family business. I married into a real estate family. And so my husband's from Nashville, Tennessee. And when we started getting interested in real estate, we realized, we should go to Nashville where we have the best mentors you could ever have in this business. So my husband's aunt is Shirley Zeitlin. She founded our company in 1979. And she is a truly iconic trailblazer as a female in business and in real estate. And so I came to work for her in 2001. And that coincided with the tech bubble bursting. So that I would call that a mini recession compared to what we've seen since. But that was my foray into the business. And I just simply started as an independent agent. So I was just starting from the scratch as an agent. And that was the trajectory I followed for quite some time. So it's been a very gradual transition into leadership and management and ownership.
Well, congratulations on all your success. I mean,
Thank
I
you.
think sometimes maybe primates would be easier to deal with, but also I don't have that experience.
There's definitely a lot of similarities. So I think it comes in handy.
Awesome. Well, can we talk about leadership for a minute? Because you mentioned Shirley, and I would love to know what it was about sort of her experience starting the business, and then also your being able to come and work with her and be mentored by her that you think led to her success and also has helped you in your career.
I think one of the things about Shirley that's just so inspiring, and I definitely relate to this, she is the most positive person you have ever met. It does not matter what challenges come her way, she sees the opportunities. And that resilience, that attitude, that mindset, I think when you have that, you can do anything. I mean, look at what people do, right? Like people climb mountains and accomplish these unbelievable physical feats. And as much as it's physical, it's more mental because it's the ability to think that you can do that. And Shirley, as a female business leader, at a time when there were almost none, she just never saw that as a barrier. In fact, when you talk to her now, I mean, she just doesn't see any barrier for women. And I think having rose-colored glasses, being ambitious, and having the right attitude about it has allowed her to really become such a powerful leader, not just in her successes, but also in what she's been able to give back, to the community and in so many different ways. So I think attitude's everything. And she's incredibly empathetic and approachable, and has absolutely no ego. If you ask her, she'll say all of her ego is in her family. That is what she's most proud of. But she keeps that out of business. And I think that's a very, very powerful, way of doing things.
I love that. And I love that lesson too, that really it is about mindset because, if you think about the time, I mean, I was born in the 80s, so I wasn't alive in 1979. And, women, it was that decade that women could even get a mortgage.
Right.
So even, I mean, it was only a mere years after, women didn't need, the husband to do it for them. And so it wasn't like, I can't even imagine sort of the strength and courage that it took, and optimism to really do that. So that's
And
wonderful.
and she's did it, I think, in a very unassuming way. She had these core values, and I say they're like our golden egg. I don't want to break them. There were certain things about our industry at that time, because it's changed a lot, that she didn't like. So number one, she felt very strongly about professionalism. And we've always been in an industry that had a lot of part-time kind of hobbyist type of agents. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that provides opportunities for people to have supplemental income. But she just knew that if she was going to start a brokerage, it was going to be only full-time agents. And another thing that's just a nuance, but it was something she felt strongly about, is at the time there was something called the $1 Million Club, and agents promoted it very, very proudly. And it made it look like agents were making millions. If you sold $1 million in real estate, which at that time was a big deal because the prices were just unimaginably low compared to today's levels. To sell $1 million in real estate, you made about $20,000. So you're not a millionaire, but the way that it was promoted made it look like it was all about the money and that agents were the ones benefiting. And that was just something she didn't like. And so to this day, we don't promote production. We don't have sales contests. We really put the focus on the relationship and on providing value. And we feel like if we do that, then the money will come and we can be successful. And so those are some of the core values that I think drove her. Instead of ego, instead of power, I mean, those were the things that motivated her.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's also really smart to know it's not really about it's not really about the intent behind what you're doing, like the $1 Million Club. It's about the customer and how the customer is perceiving it, right? You can't control how somebody reacts to you. You can only control sort of what you're putting out there.
Right.
I'm curious, are you still, so to this day, it sounds like you still are cherishing these values. So you only have full-time agents still working for you. And
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, really, to me, the culture of our company is the most important thing. And our company itself has changed and grown. But very much those values have stayed the same. And I think today, more than ever, that is where we are attracting people. I mean, you can say those things, but to be them is something different. And
Mhm.
so if you're really able to embody those values and attract people who also care about those things, it's really amazing how you can adapt to different market conditions and technologies and innovation. I mean, all those things you can deal with if you have your head on straight and your heart in the right place. And that's something I feel like is very much what is allowing us to be successful right now. So.
Yeah. Well, and you talked about a couple of things in there. Let's talk about change because this year has been um, unprecedented in every way. So, how has your business changed this year, or do you see things staying very similar from how they were pre-COVID?
It has definitely changed. I will be honest. I am one of those very rare birds who likes change. I like a challenge. I'm a marathon runner. I just, I thrive in that. And, as soon as COVID hit, I mean, literally the weekend before things kind of shut down, my husband and I, and in full disclosure, we run the company together. So I'm the CEO, he's the COO, and we really are a team. But literally that weekend, we went to Best Buy and I think we bought like 25 laptops. And we just instantly said, we got to get our staff safe at home. because they're really the engine of our company and they support our agents, and we need to make sure that they're safe and have what they need to be successful. And then the next thing that we did right away, we've always only had a monthly sales meeting, which isn't, a lot of companies have a weekly meeting. We have ongoing education throughout the month, but just one sales meeting. That very first week, I instituted a bi-weekly company-wide update, Tuesdays and Thursday mornings for 15 minutes. And I just had one, and it has been one of the highlights of the last 6 months, because we will have 70, 80, 90, 100 agents tuning in. It's 15 minutes. If you're still in your pajamas or you're in your car, you don't have to video in, you can listen. But it's allowed us to really keep our agents motivated and inspired and informed, and it's just been one of the best things. So I'm a proponent of change. I just think you have to respond to it, right? Because if you keep doing what you've always done, then you're going to be in trouble, especially in an industry like ours. One I have to share, because it's one of Shirley's hallmarks. Shirley has always loved the word Kaizen. Have you ever heard of that word?
No.
So it's the Japanese word for constant self-improvement or continuous self-improvement. And I would certainly say that's another one of the values or kind of underpinnings of our company, is being willing to tweak things and try new things. So yeah, we have rolled out so much during this time. We have changed our whole back office system, our accounting system. We've launched a new website. We've started a new venture. We have just used this time as an opportunity to be hyper connected and hyper productive. And the key best part of that is that, time is just flying, and we're just getting through this year without, being able to wallow too much in the things that can kind of really pull you down.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I love that concept of Kaizen. We at Union Street, and at many other companies, I'm sure, kind of follow the Jeff Bezos day one mentality. And it's very similar where, staying in day one means you never get into the complacency of day two. You're always in startup mode. You're always wondering if, not wondering if you're going to survive, but almost, intent on thriving and building and growing. So I love that. And I am curious, because there are some things, you're talking a lot about culture. You're talking a lot about the importance of these values that Shirley instilled. And there are some realities of the pandemic, especially with, buyers and sellers, where things have changed. It's harder, maybe or maybe not, to prioritize a customer relationship when you don't actually get to meet someone. So how have your agents changed how they're doing business with their customers?
Well, I think, the technology was there. We had it. We just didn't use it regularly. It was some of it was kind of fluff. It was an extra. For example, video. We were certainly using video. We just weren't using it as our lifeline, which is what we're doing today. And so we have, my husband and I started buying this company in 2007, which coincided with the beginning of the recession. And during that time, what we put a lot of energy into was technology, because we had really an unbelievable group of highly productive, successful agents. But technology, that's that time when technology was really changing. So online transaction management and online marketing, all of that was really coming to fruition. So we've put, well over a decade into training our agents, and really that was another thing that Shirley has always felt strongly about, was being innovative. So we were one of the first companies in our market to have a website. We've always used professional photography. So I think it helped that we had a leg up in that regard. That we'd always been tweaking things and trying new things. And then it was just training. It was just, every single week, if you look at our calendar, one of the newest things that we've adopted is a company that allows you to do online deposits of earnest money, very similar to Venmo. It's a no-brainer, but yet it's new, right? You don't hear of that often. And so I think a lot of that is just training and getting our agents comfortable with it, providing staff support. And you can't just roll something out once. Like you have to kind of continuously provide opportunities to learn, because our agents they've been unbelievably busy. I mean, housing has been, a leader and kind of a silver lining, during this whole time. And so it's not like they've been twiddling their thumbs. It's been a super active time.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and I'm glad that you mentioned training because a lot of companies have made that their sole focus, really, and primary focus. And so, what kind of adoption and interaction and engagement are you seeing from the agent end, knowing how busy they are, and especially maybe back in March, April, they weren't that busy? Have people, stayed using the tools, or is that support staff kind of there for that reason, or how does that look at your company?
Yeah, it's been amazing. So, I mean, number one, we are a huge ninja company. So, if you're familiar with ninja selling, Larry Kendall has been a friend of our company and of Shirley's since he got into real estate many years ago. And so, certainly, our guiding principles are the ninja principles. So, the pillars of ninja are mindset, skill set, and action. We start our meetings with gratitudes, with success stories, with things that make you smile and fill your heart so that you can be in a place where you're ready, to get to work and to be able to help people. And then the skill set piece of it, we put a lot of time and energy into. So, like, how do we work with our buyers and sellers? What are, a big thing in the beginning was video, right? Like, how do I sell a house virtually? How do I list a house virtually? And we have mastered it, because when you have to do it, you figure it out. And then the third piece is actions. And so the ninja philosophy is like the opposite of selling. It's about how do I attract people? Because people need to buy and sell. So we don't need to go chase them. We just want them to contact us when they're ready. And the actions part of it is all about being in the flow with your sphere. And so we've done a lot of things. Like, for example, this month, September, we're doing a September challenge. And every single day of the month, there is a task that should take you less than 15 minutes. They're very simple, but they're meant to help you, be doing all of the right kind of fundamental business things to build your business. Because the things that you do today your results are going to come, 90 days from now. And we want to help our agents end their year strong and be in a good place to start 2021. So training is everything from technology training to ninja training to bringing in a lot of experts, appraisers. And the fun thing about this time is that it's been easier to get speakers because, I can ask Larry Kendall or I can ask Steve Murray with Real Trends because it's 15 minutes of their time and it's, in this format. So we've just really taken advantage of that.
Mhm. That's awesome. And I love that. And I mean, ninja selling, I think there are a lot of benefits, especially as it gets to action and the daily habits and the weekly habits. And when you mentioned 15 minutes for your sales meeting, I actually was wondering, I'm like, is that because of ninja? And I think that, some of the pieces also like database management and staying on top of things, time blocking, like there are systems that regardless of what's going on in the outside world, like you're focusing on what you can control and where you can invest your time. And so it's interesting because a lot of the people I've talked to, and it sounds like you're similar, you're not really treating this year differently. Yes, there are things that you have to do and to embrace change, and it's just an obstacle. It's not, it's not like the end, right? And it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is just part of now your company and you're going to keep doing it. It's not like we're doing this because there's a pandemic. You're doing this because you believe in it and it's because it's helpful to your team. It's the right thing to do by the customers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think this has been a really challenging year in so many ways. We all know, all of the things that are scary and uncertain and depressing. And really my goal, and I think as a company, has been to help everyone be positive and productive. And so when people would say, I don't know what day of the week it is, or I'm wearing my pajamas, I'll see people at the end of the day, walking out to their mailbox and they still have their pajamas on. And I cast no judgment on that, but I really wanted to bring a sense of order, a way for our agents to feel like, okay, I'm showing up, I'm getting my work done, I have things I know I can do. And right now, I feel like these are the times when you like sink or swim, right? Because the bar is high. You have to be an expert on this market. If you start telling everyone out there that there's no inventory and everything's getting multiple offers, then if you list a $2 million house and it sits on the market for 2 or 3 months, that seller is going to have no confidence in your wherewithal to understand the market because it's not the same everywhere. And so we're just really trying to give our agents the ammunition to be successful and efficient. We're doing it in a really efficient kind of way.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned sort of that market knowledge, because one of the things that you said earlier was that, with the principle of ninja, you do the work and the results come 90 days later. You also don't have, a traditional sort of sales leaderboard and productivity stats. So as a CEO, and as a leader who, I'm sure you have goals for your success and sort of the company's success and where it's going to grow and how, what kind of data do you look at, and what kind of information do you center your agents around, to know that the work they're doing is the right work, or to have that confidence?
Well, one of the things that I started doing in the beginning was sharing success stories at the beginning of our meetings, because there were agents who, were really down in the dumps, and thinking that this was going to be just an awful year. People have different levels of concerns about, whether or not they were willing to leave the house or they were willing to work with clients. And so I wanted to share those success stories because I felt like they would help agents see the possibilities and hear the creative ways that our agents were working with their clients, and just to boost them up, and realize that that it is possible. So, we follow from an operational standpoint every metric under the sun. We're watching our numbers and our company dollar and our average commission rate and all of the important things you have to do to run a business. We have, making sure that you don't have fluff expenses that are not necessary. The first thing we did was turn off the coffee at the office. No one's at the office. And we reallocated that money into other things. So there's a lot on the financial side of it. And my goal is always to just be looking at what is the best use of our money and to make sure that we're good stewards of it. And then with our agents, it's really all, again, about if they know what they need to do to be productive, then they will get results. And so it's really just giving them guidance on what to focus on. And then growth has been really important to us during this time. There are a lot of people getting into real estate right now. It's been a very good time in real estate. And with the changes that people are having in their lives, a lot of people are pivoting. And maybe they've always thought about doing this, so they're finally pulling the trigger and moving forward with it. Or maybe they've had another successful career and that chapter has closed. And so we have done, I think, 4 virtual orientations during this time. And it's been amazing to see those agents connect and really kind of get their business off the ground despite the challenges of this time. They can't go in the office and bump into 30 agents, but there's so many other ways that they can connect and be able to tap into kind of the brain power of our company.
That's awesome. Had you done any virtual onboarding previously, just out of curiosity?
No, because we didn't need to.
Right.
And with this technology, just the sharing your screen part alone is amazing. So it's definitely been one of the highlights.
That's awesome. Well, and I'm curious too, because, you mentioned onboarding, and obviously agent recruiting and retention is really important, because, some of the principles of Ninja are, about your sphere and really nurturing that sphere and marketing to that sphere and focusing on the people who already know of you. Is that how you've also approached marketing for Zeitlin as a whole, or how have you found success marketing the company and also, recruiting new agents?
Well, we have historically we've always grown organically, and the primary source of referrals of prospective agents are our agents. It's the agents that they're working with out there who they're like, you need to know what our company offers. They're proud and they spread the word. And that's one of the number one ways that we've grown. And then it's, having a really strong website. We just launched a new website, having a lot of information about our culture, about the marketing tools that our agents have, showing their listings in a beautiful way so that they can market their property the way that every property, regardless of the price point, deserves to be marketed. So it's just been very organic for us, and we've gained a lot of steam. And I think a lot of it, and you can tell where my heart is, comes back to culture and our agents knowing that we care about them. We want them to be successful. We cannot be successful unless they're successful. I mean, we are partners in this. And so it's just, it's been, it's one of the things that I think has been good about everyone feeling connected and supported and knowing that this is a positive environment. Despite the fact that you could start your day with, more negativity than any of us need in a year, we could ingest in one morning. And so I think that positivity goes a long way, towards helping everyone feel like they're in the right place.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I can tell just in this conversation how passionately and genuinely you believe that, which is awesome. I feel like Shirley must have been just as amazing as you say to have been.
And she is still amazing. So she will love watching this. Shirley's still very engaged in our company. And, one of the things that I think is key is just being in the flow with our agents. So during this time, it's not just training. It's not just those things are important, but a lot of it is just reaching out and finding out, because life is going on. People, I can't tell you how many of our agents are having babies. Their kids are going to college. People are getting divorced. They're having losses in their life. All the things are still happening. And so it's taken extra effort to make sure that we know what's going on in our agents' lives. And Shirley's a big part of that, because these, we have people who've been with us since the beginning, literally from the late 70s and early 80s. And so we're family, and, staying in touch with each other through this time has been really, really important.
Wow, that's wonderful. So I'm curious because, you do have a mentor like Shirley, right? And it seems like you are that mentor now for a lot of your agents, and just the way you're talking and being that motivator and that force for positivity. And what would you say to someone who, like the next Jessica Averbuch out there, who maybe really wants to be in a leadership role, start her own brokerage, or get to that point, and maybe doesn't yet have that network or that mentor, or kind of how to start? Like, how do you advise people on creating their own company and getting started in this industry?
I think one of the biggest things is just curiosity, just being curious and seeing where that takes you. So if there's someone that is successful in the business, or, just reaching out to them and talking to them. I mean, one of the best conversations I think that agents or potential agents, people who are thinking about this career, can do is talk to everyone they know about their experiences when they bought or sold a home. Because if you get that feedback, the good and the bad and the ugly, then it really helps you understand and kind of formulate what kind of agent you want to be and what level of service you want to provide to people. And I mean, in terms of finding mentors, the gift of being able to help someone is so much greater than whatever a mentee receives, in my opinion. I mean, I have found so much joy, and I've learned so much in helping other people. And so I just would encourage people that if you see someone who's successful, reach out to them. They will appreciate it. They will be flattered, and they will share. And if they're not willing to share, it's probably not the type of person that you need to invest a lot of time and energy into, because there are so many people who are willing. And that's a lot of the ninja philosophy. It's abundance, right? There's more than enough out there for everyone. And people in real estate tend to be very friendly. So I don't think it's too hard in our industry to really build relationships with other agents. One other thing that just came to mind, one of the things that I love about our company is the diversity of our agents. So our agents come from across Middle Tennessee. They have a wide range. I mean, we've got agents who've been in the business 40 years and people who've been in the business a week. And so those mentor-mentee relationships are very organic because the agents who've been in the business for the longest may be struggling with some of the ways that our industry is changing. And a classic example is social media, right? How do I know I need to have an online presence, but I'm not comfortable with it. How do I go about that? And then our new agents, they don't have the market knowledge. Pricing is such a, there's an art and a science to it. And so there's certain things you can only know with a lot of experience, all the nuances of market, of the market conditions. So that's where the magic happens, I think, and it's mutually beneficial. So I just say go for it. If you see someone who inspires you, reach out to them.
I love it. And I'm curious, with kind of looking at all your success and you yourself, you've mentioned curiosity. I'm sure there are lots of things in the works for you and for Zeitlin. And, it seems like you're someone whose mind never turns off. So what is next for you?
Yes, I go to bed really early. I run really hard. I work hard. I, spend time with my family, and then I hit the pillow hard. In terms of what's next, I mean, I always say Shirley literally has agents that were her partners in business, and they worked together for a whole career, and they were successful together. And so I have many, many years ahead of me to work. My husband and I do. And I love doing it. I love kind of having those relationships with our agents and saying, I want to work with you for the rest of our careers and be successful together. And so, things change. One of the most life-changing things that happened to our company was our affiliation with Sotheby's International Realty. It was the right decision at the right time. And it has been so powerful and such, I can't even imagine if we had not done that. And so I know that things will change, but I also know that so many things have stayed the same. And so it's just sticking to the core values and at the same time continuing to grow and learn. And I love to read. And I think reading and listening, to information like you put out is just, it inspires you. And it just, I think is a big part of growth.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned reading because I can tell all the books behind you too that you love it. What's a great book that you've read that you'd recommend?
So I have a lot. My kids tease me. I have teenagers, so they can be a little snarky about my self-improvement books, but I definitely gravitate towards the Brene Browns of the world. And also more, spiritual or just kind of, you can call them self-help books. I don't know what that falls under a wide range. And then I love fiction. I'm not a TV watcher, so that there's definitely an escape, and I love historical fiction. And then just, all sorts of things. Podcasts, I think, are the best invention ever. There's just so much you can learn from listening to conversations, and I've loved that. So I read a very wide range, and I wish I could read more, but I don't sit still very well, so I just tend to do it in small bites.
Do you listen to the podcast when you're running or Audible books?
I do. Yeah. I love
that. Audible, I think, is the best invention ever. Like, I agree with you on podcasts.
It's just amazing. I mean, I've been listening to these running podcasts with these Olympic runners, and I'm like the biggest amateur slogging it out there, kind of runner, but their stories are so amazing. Right. And so, I love all that.
That's awesome. Well, Jessica, this has been amazing. I would love it if you could share with just our audience one more fun fact about you, something not real estate related. What is something that most people don't know?
I already told my primate story. I gotta think about that. A fun fact. Well, it's kind of related to the primate story, but I've done a lot of archaeology and anthropology field work. In college, I studied at the St. Louis Zoo. I went to Washington University and had a really special relationship with a gorilla there that I will always treasure. And then when I went to grad school, I had a colony of lemurs that I was responsible for. And so I pretty much lived in overalls and Birkenstocks for like a solid 6 to 8 years. So now in my life of professional attire, I always think it's funny to bring that up because I think sometimes we can't picture people the way we don't know them, but we all have a lot of different sides to us. And I still have that side. I channel that more into being outdoors and being in nature. And that's how I satisfy that now.
I love that. I feel like maybe there's a memoir in your future of your
I
life,
don't know.
self-help, motivation,
Maybe.
maybe, you never know. If you need another challenge. Well, thank you again so much, Jessica. This has been a pleasure. For everyone, as a reminder, this is Jessica Averbuch. She is the CEO, owner, adventurer extraordinaire, Zeitlin Sotheby's International Realty in Nashville. Thank you, Jessica.
My goodness, thank you. That was a lot of fun.